right there.
That's Darwin's speaker.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
this thing.
Yeah, it's coming off mine. It's coming, you guys. Be patient. I feel like a rookie, like I've never done this before. All right, here we go. So we should be all set. A good Wednesday welcome to you guys. It is the 13th of July. And today, my trusty cohort, Alex, Peck, and I are going to walk you through the 4 personalities and their 3 communication preferences. So without hesitating, let's just go ahead and introduce them to what those 3 things are, or 4 personalities are. 4 personalities. You can tell that it's not working well for us. So there we go.
So if you guys want to make it very simple for yourselves, just draw a graph, 1 line down, 1 line across, and we're going to put each personality style in each quadrant of that graph.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, coming up, we'll show you the box. You'll know how to be able to do that.
Yep.
But just know that these are the 4 basics. And you know the DISC one, because it's the same thing, what those stand for?
Dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance.
So if you ever hear the DISC survey or the DISC study of personalities, it's the same thing. It's just which one applies to what. I like to use these terms because they're really much more self-explanatory. So let's take a look at that graph that exists and discuss those 4 personalities. So analytical is the first one that we'll address in the upper left-hand corner. Analytical's overall traits being they're tactful, they're cautious, they're rather private individuals. They're the ones that if they were holding cards in their hands, they would do this with you when you're on a listing presentation. They're holding them up to their chest. You can say, so, what do you believe your house is worth? I don't know. They'll literally, I mean, just hold the cards right here, but they don't want to share with them. That's up to you to be able to find out. Okay? We're going to break down each one of these personalities with greater detail, but just know this is kind of the big picture of who they are. So drivers.
Yeah, so driver, I'm a driver by nature. And so, you know, if you're a driver and you're talking to an analytical, they drive you crazy because they talk too slow. Okay. So drivers by nature are very dominant. They're very no nonsense. They're very result oriented. Like, all right, tell me what are you going to sell my home for? How much is it going to cost? What is it going to look like? What are you going to do? Just give me the facts. Okay.
They don't want to waste time.
They don't want to waste. They're not time wasters. They're very efficient. They're very direct. And sometimes that can be very intimidating or abrasive to other people, depending on who you are. Okay. So if you are dealing with the driver, it's very easy to identify who they are because they're probably the strongest personality and they give away their cards pretty quick. You just want to try and match and mirror them as best as possible. Be efficient, be straightforward, don't BS, and don't waste any of their time.
Amiables.
You text Darwin.
They're the easygoing, the patient, warm. All they want to do is to get along with everyone.
You and Bill both.
Emily, I need you to kind of keep an eye on those admittance. I just let a group in here. So amiables, they just want to get along. They're very easygoing, very nice people. As a matter of fact, I can tell you, one of their favorite words is nice. Yeah. It's all, you know, that's so nice. I just want to do something nice for people. It is absolutely one of their favorite words. They'll also be very patient. You'll see them being very warm. They come from the heart.
And that's why you can see driver in the top right, amiable in the bottom left, because they're exact opposites. Okay. So same thing with analytical. And the last one is expressive. So an expressive is kind of a spinoff of a driver. They're very loud personality. They're very outgoing. They're very sociable. They're very gregarious. They're oftentimes very late because, again, they're not very structured. They're just very outgoing people. If you talk to somebody and just like a chatty Cathy or someone that you know is always talking and always wants to know what's going on and tell you what they're doing, chances are they're an expressive. okay? And and we'll go into this deeper in a minute, but one of the best ways to identify who is the rate of speech, okay?
Oop.
I'm just giving them a foreshadow. I'm not going to go into it. I'm just going to tell them that's one of the best ways to identify who is who.
So actually, let's take a little bit of, as you look at this chart, how to be able to see it. Because the two adjoining personalities across the chart, they're going to have some combined traits.
Yep.
And that's what Alex was really just bringing up. Let's take a look at the first one, of which I'm having to do a couple of things to where this is fighting with me, so I hope you'll pardon me for a second. Let's talk about the top, business-like.
Yep. Very to the point, right? They're just more business-oriented, goal-oriented. They're more factual-based. They want to get the numbers, they want to get the details, they want to get the information, okay? So the top line, analytical and driver, if you're going out to meet with one, they're more interested in, okay, what are you going to deliver? What am I going to get? What am I looking at? What is the end result that I'm going to be looking at, okay? They're more rational, factual, data-based decision makers. So now if we look at the bottom half, amiable and expressive, go ahead. They're more relationship based, okay? So they're more interested in how you personally are going to relate to them and how you're going to work together, okay? So amiable and expressive are more personally interested in you and how you are going to relate to them. And that actually preferentially is more important to them than actually what you may get the home sold for or what you're going to get out of it. The top half cares more about the, what are you going to sell my home for? What am I going to get? The bottom half cares more about you personally, how the relationship is going to grow and how they ultimately feel with you as your agent.
So then when you look at the sides of the chart, again, we're talking opposite.
Yep.
On the left side of the chart with the analyticals and the amiables, when it comes to decision making, I'll put it there first, they're slow to make decisions. On the other hand, go to the right side of the chart, and you got these individuals who will be very quick to make those decisions. They just, here, as a matter of fact, let's go back to the slow decision. Analyticals, they need the facts. They need to really, if you will, internalize all the information that will come into making a decision to buy or sell, or in a listing situation to list with you or to list with someone else.
Yep.
So we need to give them the time that they can actually internalize that information and come out with a logical information-based decision. On the bottom of that chart would be the amiable. Again, slow to make decisions, but here's the key with the amiable. Theirs are going to be, how does it make everyone else feel? How is it going to take care of everybody who I care about? So a family would be one big thing with an amiable. They're going to look, how is this decision going to impact my family? How will this decision impact those that I love, those that are my friends? So it's about the relationship. And again, more based on the emotion, the feeling, than it is upon anything that would be there, like the analytical and the information based. Go to the right side of the chart.
So the exact opposite. So these are the quick decision makers, right? This is someone that you can sit down with in 15 to 20 minutes, we're good to go, right? We got everything taken care of. Let's move forward. Now with them, the same is true. You don't want to slow ball or slow deliver information. For example, if you're meeting with a driver and they ask you, what should my home sell for? And you go into 20 minutes of marketing, you lost them. They don't care, okay? You want to focus on and only what it is they are bringing your attention to and what it is they express they care about. They care about commission. Dive right into it, okay? And no, driver and expressive, you can push and close for a signature much faster than you could an analytical or an amiable. And it's very important to understand that, because if you push too hard on an analytical or an amiable, you lose them. And if you take too long to close on a driver or an expressive, you lose them.
Lose them.
Okay?
Matter of fact, just to be visual, you wouldn't go through all of this crap page by page with a driver.
No
It's
way.
not going to happen.
Mm-mm.
Now, on the other hand, get this into the hands of an analytical well in advance, and anything else that you could provide that would be 3 inches thick, and they're going to love it.
Yep.
The
And-
driver, real quick, what they would do is, man, all the stuff is great, but where's the information I need?
Yep.
Highlight that, detail that, put tabs on it, do whatever. What they want to know is what they need to be able to make a decision.
Yep. And so, you hear a lot about buzzwords, keywords, whatever you want to call them. Verbiage is important when it comes to this. So if you're dealing with an amiable or an expressive, you want to lead towards more of feel. How do you feel about this? What are your feelings towards this? What are you guys feeling right now, right? Feel. Amiable and expressive feel. Driver and analytical, you want to go more towards the thought process. So what are your thoughts on this? What do you think about this? Right? What's your thinking along with this? Right? So think, driver, analytical, feel, amiable, expressive.
And then know this, the slow and the fast also go along to what their rate of speech is. So let's see. You want to do the amiable? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right.
An amiable, here's one of the things to make a note with an amiable, their smile. You need to speak softly and always with a smile when you look to the amiable personality. Put a smile on your face. You might even give that little tilt to the head, because that's a common thing with them also. But it will be a really softer, even with some pauses, but it's a softer, more thoughtful rate of speech when they're talking and they're in their full amiable mode. On the other hand, we jump to the top of the chart, left-hand side, and you have the analytical. Now, just like it says, they're much more businesslike. How many people just went nuts with that?
Yeah, that's it.
But that's what an analytical will do, because they're going to have many pauses, and it will drive expressives and drivers batty, and you're going to want to finish their statements for them. Don't do it. Thankfully, when you can see them, you can look in their eyes and look, they're not done yet. When the eyes start rolling, or it looks to, let them process. But you will definitely hear a more business-like talk out of them, but they're absolutely going to pause and think about what they're going to say before they actually say it. Now, picture when you can't see them because you got them on the phone. You just need to know that there are people that will have long pauses, and you have to wait to let them finish what their thoughts are. Let's talk about the other side.
Yep. So driver and expressive. There's no long pauses here. Like, we're in, let's go, let's get it done. Like, that's it, right? So example for closing on a driver. So it looks like everything looks good. Happy with the price. All right, go ahead and sign for me right here. Driver, done. Same thing with expressive. Well, it feels like you and I have a good connection. It feels like we're on board with everything. You feel like you're ready to get the home signed? Yep. All right, go ahead and sign for me right here. That's it, right? Driver, analytical, you can go right to the point, talk fast. And if you're an analytical or an amiable and you're dealing with a driver or an expressive, it's going to be difficult, but you got to pick yourself up. Okay. You got to pick up your rate of speed up. You got to pick up your energy. You got to pick up your emotion and try and match and mirror them as best as possible. Right. So that's how you close on in a driver and expressive. But for an example, an amiable, which early on in my career, I had no chance of getting an amiable because I couldn't relate to them very well. I was high D. So it took a lot of practice, and I'm still working on it, but you got to soften it a little bit, right? So an example for an amiable, so Mrs. Seller, soften your voice. I just want to make sure we're on the same page. It sounds and feels like we're a pretty good match. Do you feel like you're ready to get the home on the market now? Same words, totally different delivery, totally different message.
Absolutely. It's the ability to be able to match and mirror. A driver, just get to the point.
Yep.
An expressive, oh, by the way, an expressive, I don't think we hit this part of it. Expressives are going to make very quick decisions, but they're going to be based upon not necessarily on facts, information, or anything that's like that. It's like, hey, Alex, what do you think about this?
Yeah.
No kidding you, that's pretty cool. And, hey, John, what do you thought about? Hey, Shelley, if you did, would that? They want to know what everybody else thinks, and they're going to make their decision based upon what they're receiving from their friends, the people that they know, the people that they have around them they can talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, oh, by the way, is it fun and exciting? But we'll break into the details onto that in a little bit. But anything else we got on the big picture of these guys?
I think that's the key points. One other thing I would add is if you're touring the home with them and you're walking with an expressive, let them tell you and show you everything. That is one of the best ways to instantly gain rapport with somebody, right? Oh, I did this, I painted this, I got this from this place, I got this and this. Oh, looks great. Look, you don't even have to say anything. Like when I'm meeting with an expressive, all I got to do is smile and nod and say, yep, yep. Oh, great, great. And they just talk. And by the end of it, oh my gosh, we're such a great fit. I couldn't agree more. Go ahead and sign for me right here. That's it. Let them talk. Don't interrupt and be engaged. And the other thing too, we forgot to mention is don't break eye contact. Do not break eye contact when you're dealing with an expressive, because the second you do, they feel like you're not listening or what you feel like they're saying is not important enough for you to listen and you lose them. So maintain eye contact.
We had a question. John, did you have a question?
Yeah, so the typical approach to showing up and saying, Mr. Seller, why don't you have a seat at the table? I'm just going to tour the house, wouldn't work with the expressive.
No, they wouldn't let that happen. No, they're going to want to show you everything and tell you everything and why it is they did this, where they got it and all this other stuff. And that I jump on that because I'm like, all right, cool. Show me everything. Tell me everything. And then a half hour later, we're at the table and pretty much my job's done because they're already sold on me because I didn't say a word. I just listened to them and they feel like we got a great connection.
In the amiable, if you said, oh no, I don't need to see your house.
Oh my God, you're done. You're done. You just shatter them into a million pieces.
I don't know if that just hurts saying it, right? And by the way, here's another quickie I don't think we put into here. Their hands for an amiable.
Yeah.
It's always up here around the heart. Because that's where they think at.
Analyticals typically have their arms crossed and lean back in the chair, or they have their leg crossed and they're lean back because they want to distance themselves from you because they don't trust you yet, right? A driver will have their elbows on the table in your face. All right, let's go. And expressive just moves all around, okay? So those are, again, key identifiers as to who it is you're speaking to.
Listen, there's loads that we would be able to give you. But we've got 1 hour, and typically this could be a full 5-6 hours to where you really dive in this practice, identifying other individuals. And again, we'll do this at some point with an actual class.
I'm assuming there's combos in this, right? It could be a little bit of both.
Yes. As a matter of fact, let's dive before we move into the details to it. I want you to picture, if you will, that you could have an analytical driver. You could have an amiable expressive. You could have an analytical amiable, because it's just as they have tendencies, they'll start leaning up toward one or the other. As a matter of fact, if we took our 4 boxes and divided them into 4 quartiles, that would chart out a little bit further as to where somebody may be. So when Alex referred to himself as a high D, again, if you took that driver quartile, moved it into 4, put him out in the corner.
Yeah.
Right? He was that far out. So for Alex to become like an amiable, would be a very difficult stretch because that's totally the furthest from where he was. It would be easy for him to get along with a few expressives, easy for him to get along with a few analyticals. But now let's say we take those four, put them into the four quartiles on top of that. And if I'm in one of those center where, if you will, it was the lines of, I call them a lot of things, diversification. It just means you are highly flexible and you could become any one of those four personalities without even thinking about it. It's just you have that
Versatility.
versatility. There you go. That's the word I was looking for. The lines of versatility where you cross that over, you can become any one of them. So the closer you are to the center of that chart, the easier it is for you to get along with anyone.
Mm-hmm.
The further you are out, bottom, side, top, to the corners, the more difficult it is for you to adjust to the different personalities. Now, here's one other one. As we've already been talking about this, if anybody has a significant other, you're married, you were married, you may now understand why you no longer are married. Truly. Because here's my experience in the years that I really focused on this. Opposites do attract. About 80% of the time, I could comfortably say that 80% of the people did marry or was dating, they were the fiance to a complete opposite. So even if they were very versatile, they married the complete opposite. So know that if you get an appointment with an amiable, who are they married to?
Probably a
They're
driver.
married to the driver, most likely. So you already know walking in the door who the other person is you're going to be talking to. And of course, if I'm on the phone with an analytical, and can I tell?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They're probably one of the most easy ones to actually identify.
Mm-hmm.
But then who are they most likely married to?
Expressive.
The expressive. So keep that in mind as we go along. Now, one other thing that might be good for us to throw out. How do I identify? I mean, I want to do this while we have the chart up. How do I identify who somebody is knowing all this stuff? And yet, knowing all this stuff, sometimes I have trouble identifying who someone is. It's often easier to identify who they're not. And if you can identify who they're not, you'll probably be able to identify who they are.
Mm-hmm.
See, if somebody's clearly, I mean, can I use you?
Sure.
Don't be too excited about that.
Yeah. Drivers don't tend to express a lot of emotion, so.
We all know he's not that soft, cushy, touchy, feely guy. It's just, hey, what's the point? Can we just get to this? You may see all of that before you realize how crusty he is.
Yeah, thank you.
So just hold on to that thought. I know in the years that I've been doing this, often when I can't go, I know who this guy is. It's, oh, wait a minute, what is he not?
Mm-hmm.
Very quickly, you'll probably identify who they actually are simply by going, who are they not? Go to the opposite side of the chart. Anything you want to add while we're up on this one?
Yeah, I think the big thing we got to mention too, it's like, we're not telling you to change who it is you are.
Oh,
You need to just adapt
great one.
based on who it is you're speaking to, right? Because, I mean, how many times have you gone out and you're like, I nailed that presentation. Like, I couldn't have done it any better if I wanted to myself. And you don't get the listing, right? Because we presented to them based on how we would want to be presented to ourselves, right? We are not presenting to ourselves. We have to present and communicate in their language, okay? So just because you're a driver, that doesn't mean you go out and present as a driver every single time. You have to identify who it is you're speaking to, adapt, and essentially speak their language. And that's how you build rapport. And that's how you really start to increase your conversion rate, because now you're delivering top flight material, but at the same time, you're speaking in their language, and that's how you get people to build rapport with you.
We all know the golden rule. I don't think the platinum rule has been brought up enough. Golden rule is treat everyone the way that you would want to be treated. Okay, amiable. Go talk to this guy when he's in his high D mode.
Yeah.
You think he wants to be treated the way that you want to be treated? No. So what I really want to say is treat people the way that they want to be treated, which is the platinum rule. Treat people the way that they want to be treated. Communicate with people the way they want to be communicated with.
Mhm.
Help people make decisions with the way that they make decisions. Give them what is necessary. Don't waste their time. And all of that is simply understanding who it is that we're actually working with.
Yep.
So guys, there's many, many things that we could work with on this chart, but let's break down the personalities a little bit more detailed. And in the analytical first, structured and organized. They are about the facts, the figures, the detail, and the data. Matter of fact, as we go through some of these things, these are also the words that they like to hear.
Mm-hmm.
You will find that they look at situations in the greatest detail. They're looking down to the fine point. So when they say, well, what's the percentage of? Well, they don't want to know what you think it is. They want to know what you know it is. If you don't know, you're farther ahead saying that, you know what, I don't have the specific figures or facts for that, but let me get that for you. You are farther ahead saying, I don't know.
As opposed to trying to BS them, then you lose them.
Oh, you're going to totally lose them as soon as they know you're BSing or you're making stuff up or you're guessing at it. They have tendencies to be a perfectionist. They are procedure oriented. So you will hear that, well, what comes next? They need to know what to expect. When we talk about the safe island technique, it's probably very, very important to these individuals. They're also very disciplined with their time.
Show up late to an analytical appointment, no chance you're going to get the listing.
You probably have already lost it. You better hope that the expressive really thinks you're cool and fun and all the other stuff that goes along with it. They have a dry, witty sense of humor. Matter of fact, they'll tell a joke and you don't recognize it. You almost have to wait and look at their face and see if there's.
It may crack a smile.
Yeah, it might. There might be a crack of upward direction on something like that. By the way, another note for the analytical, if you want to put this in quotes, become a quote unquote trusted advisor. Trusted advisor. Great words for them. If there's anybody that you may leave with the aspect of thinking about it overnight, and not sleeping on their couch and so you're there in the morning. Did you see my smile? That was a joke, you guys. That was my analytical humor. All right. I bet it did. I don't think it went out over there either. Well, anyway, they're the ones who you would actually allow them to think about it overnight. But knowing that that's who they are, give them everything in advance of a presentation so that they don't have to think about it overnight. They already have all the information necessary.
Yep.
Anything to add to that list?
No, I think that's crucial. Give them everything in advance. Set them up with expectations. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to send you some information. I'm going to call you the day of the appointment. I'm going to ask you some qualifying questions. After we get together and go through everything and I'm able to answer all your questions and address all your concerns, if everything were to make sense, Mr. Analytical, would you feel comfortable making a decision today? Yes? Great. I'll see you tonight. No? Okay, that's fair. What would it look like if you were to make a decision? Just hypothetical. You know, you want to off guard. Hypothetically, what would it look like? And they'll tell you, and you know exactly what to do when you get there, and they know exactly what to expect from you, and they're more likely to sign on the spot.
Information, facts, figures. data.
Yep.
Some of their favorite words and what they want and need to be able to make a decision. A lot of you are going, oh, I'm married to one of those.
Slow his tone down to his voice down.
Yep.
You notice that, right? Typically, what you'll see is that we actually are doing the personalities as we describe them. Now, here's their dominant motivations. They have a primary need of security and safety. The reason that you need to become a trusted security and safety advisor, because that's what they need, is somebody who can give them all the information, give them logical advice, and they're going to be able to make great decisions. A need to know and understand. I don't want to feel, I need to know. I need to understand. So why is this that it works? How will this come out to be the end result that we're actually looking for? They also love routines. Use numbers. And when I say that, well, first we're going to, second we're going to, third we'll have. And then 4, they wish to avoid fear, chaos, any change, anxiety, doubt, mistrust. They don't want that. That comes back to the primary need, security and safety.
Yep.
Now, we're going to keep moving along on some of these. Know that this will be back up on our HRC Agent Learning channel on YouTube. So it will be available to you to be able to catch back up on these if you will ever feel the need that you missed something or you want to do the review to that. The driver.
All right, so my language. So we're very practical, we're down to earth, values action and results. You know, what are you doing? I don't care about what you're saying, what are you doing, right? Has the ability to get a lot done. They typically like to take control. They're very dominant by nature. Can be forceful, dominant, and many times can be intimidating, okay? They respond to things that are immediate and tangible. They're bottom line thinkers, and they do have a high self-worth, and money is not really the issue because they're very detail and task oriented. And at the end of the day, that's what they care about is results. I don't care about everything in between. I want to talk results, right? What are you doing? What are you not doing? And why are the results the results?
But Alex, they're married to the amiable.
Yep. So that kind of counterbalances it, right? Because you got one, results, very deep, get things done for me. And then you got the soft side, right? So it's the perfect yin and yang, which again is why opposites attract. So if you are a driver by nature, try and spend some time around amiables, okay? It's going to take a lot of practice, but that will help build your versatility. Spend time around people who are the opposite of you.
Understand and appreciate who they are.
Yep.
What they need. Otherwise, you stand to lose a lot of business because you're not treating that individual the way that they like to be treated. And people like people who are like themselves.
Yep.
Dominant motivations.
Prestige and power. I don't know if I agree with that, but okay. Self-worth and recognition. They're very competitive. They like sense of accomplishment. And they always wish to avoid feelings of blame, guilt, and dishonor. Really, they just try to avoid any feelings of any sort, really, because in driver's perspective, they're not really productive. So,
emotions don't really mean too much.
Not unless, when we're looking at task oriented and goals, emotion doesn't really play into it too much. But
and if you have any doubt, if you're looking at this and going, well, wait a minute, I thought I was a driver, but I'm not into prestige or power. Ask somebody else. Matter of fact, you might look at what's the car you drive? What position are you in? Would you enjoy working for someone else? Often it's not what you think you are, but how others actually will see you is the real key as to your personality and your profile.
And the other thing to keep in mind too is people are viewing you through their lens. So if an amiable is viewing you, they view you as like, well, you're kind of abrasive, you're kind of loud, you're too strong, you're too much for me, right? But if a driver is viewing an amiable, it's kind of like, okay, come on, get to the point. Like, let's cut out this BS. Like, let's go. So again, keep that in mind. People's perception of you is through their lens, not necessarily yours.
You'll even hear me quite often going or discussing or telling you, get rid of the drama,
Yeah.
people. I don't want to hear it. Now, will I hear it? Yes. I'll hear it from my agents I'm working with. I'll hear it from my buyer clients, my seller clients.
Mhm.
And so, look, I don't want to hear it from some other agent on a transaction about why this needs to happen. It doesn't matter.
I had a driver client once. He called me up, screaming and yelling at me for like 5 minutes, just going to town, calling me every name in the book. When he was done, I'm like, all right, you done? He's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, cool. So this is what we got to do. And we just dove right into it, right? So just get it out of your system. Drivers do that. Don't engage because that's just going to intensify the argument. Let him get it out. All right, we're done. All right, cool. Let's get to it.
How do we fix it?
Yep.
That's always the real question. Amiables. They're warm, friendly nature. We've talked about. They're very agreeable. They're very supportive. They're the ones who will jump in and help around the office, help you around the house. They're very soft-hearted because, again, they want everyone to just feel good. They want to be nice to everyone. Their dominant motivation is a need for social acceptance, belonging, and the approval from others. Influences others to achieve their own goals because they want people to be happy. Wishes to avoid disapproval or rejection. They have trouble when they find out somebody doesn't like them or somebody thought something ill of them or that somebody did something that they thought was ill-willed. They don't like that. It doesn't feel good to them. And they'll have feelings of loneliness. They need people. So if they're not around people, they need to be around people so they can avoid those feelings of loneliness.
Mm-hmm.
It's doing things together, making things so that everyone's happy and feels good that they're living a life, or as we always say, having a career worth having in our case.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. So amiable and expressive, they like to be around people. Okay. Even an amiable who may be more introverted by nature are more comfortable being around people because that gives them the opportunity to help. Okay. Drivers, analyticals are more introverts and don't want to be around people. Okay. They are perfectly fine chilling by themselves and they're happy with it. Okay. So keep that in mind too. Drivers, analyticals don't really want to be around people. Expressives, amiables, they thrive around people.
Your ability then, now that we have discussed the driver with detail, the amiable with detail, knowing opposites attract, knowing that you're going to walk into a listing appointment and have these two individuals. Did I freeze? Are we still live out there, boss? Hopefully you guys are still hearing us.
I'm still hearing you.
Okay,
she's still
good.
hearing us, okay.
We froze up on the screen here, so, but we're still on the amiable as far as the picture. So good. All right. So here's the key part of Alex is like, right now he's frozen like this. So I'm
You
sitting
guys aren't
down with
frozen to me.
an amiable seller who's married to a driver seller. And I may talk to the driver seller and say, so look, my understanding is you want to have it sold by this date. Is that right? Great. You're moving because that has to happen because, and you're looking for X amount in the bottom line. That's the key part. That's the type of results that you're looking for. Is that correct? And then I can turn to Mr. or Miss Amiable, whichever it may be, and say, and let me ask you this. Are those the things that you're looking for, or what else would be important to you?
Or what are your feelings?
What are your feelings
about all of this?
Is there anything that I can do to be able to make this easier for you? If it's a family, how do the kids feel about making this move? Those are the things that are important to those individuals. So when we talk about rapport building, that's a real key.
Yep.
Let's address the aspect of the expressive.
I think it's
It's
the
the
TV.
TV.
Yeah. So, okay, expressive. They express themselves very openly. They're spontaneous. They can be impulsive. They wear their heart on their sleeves, right? Like there's no guessing on how they're feeling because they're going to tell you. They're forceful with people, but also they're very, very persuasive. Okay. They're very persuasive by people by nature just because they can relate to people so well. Okay. They run around, do things all at once. And again, one of the best identifiers for me is they're almost always late. Okay. Because they're not very structured. They just kind of go with the flow and wake up and see what the day brings.
Key word for them would be spontaneous. They're very spontaneous. Make a plan.
Yep. So whenever I'm meeting with an expressive, I always tell them the meeting starts a half an hour before it actually does. So that way they actually arrive right on time because they're half an hour late. So if you're ever dealing with an expressive, use that because it works almost every time.
I can tell you that Mrs. Conley believes that if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late.
You're late. Yeah.
I'm one who it's like, look, I'm just got to show up on time. If I show up on time, that's what's best. Now, there's lots of things that will change who you think you may be because, but look, I'm one that I know I need to be on time. I don't want to be early to an appointment because people will look at it and go, well, you said 1 o'clock and it's only 12:45. Yes, sir. But I would grow up this 1 o'clock is what the appointment was set for. I mean, wait, go tour the neighborhood, do those types of things. But here would be the other thing with my wife. When we do anything outside of real estate, guess who does all the planning? She does, not me. Because I put it and she knows, honey, where are we going?
Yeah.
Then just tell me which direction to head. Tell me where we're going and what time we're stopping. I'll do whatever you want to do. I'm just a fun guy. That would be the expressive within me, right?
I'm the exact opposite. So
Hey,
I'm always early. So I was taught early on by a football coach. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you just go home.
And my wife's going to be sitting there nodding with you.
Okay. So I would show up to an appointment 10, 15 minutes early. I'd sit in my car, prep, go over everything, make sure I'm on board, head up to the door maybe 5, 6 minutes early. Okay. So that's just, again, me by nature, because if I'm ever late, I like melt down. Like it drives me insane because I just feel like that's one of the worst things you can do is just be late because I'm not being courteous to the other person's time. So I always am early or try to be.
So the expressive.
Yep.
And then we'll talk about how the expressive and the amiable. But I just one quick example is that ability to be able to go from this, and that is what you're looking. I mean, if John and Stephanie were Mr. and Mrs., and she were the amiable and he's the driver, I've literally, just to give it to you, I would be very much like this and asking how will that feel, and you're good. And then I got to turn to him and go, that give you the results that you're looking for? You have to be able to shift that quickly to go from one personality to another and bring the full mode of communication into that.
Mhm.
The amiable, dominant motivation.
That's frozen. We're on this.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
The expressive.
Yeah. So we're good.
Well, that was so 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Expressive. I was obviously.
I got you on
looking up
track.
there.
We're
Okay,
good.
go
Yeah.
ahead.
So we just did this. So
We got them all?
yeah, go to the next one. All right. So dominant motivation for an expressive. High need to be center stage, right? They want to be the spotlight. They seek independence, freedom, and their own personal touch. They don't like to follow rules, and they like to just kind of live by their own code, right? They avoid boredom, complacency, failure, or being hemmed in. So again, when you try and nail down an appointment with an expressive, it's one, hard for them to even commit, and then two, they're almost never going to be on time. So it's because, again, they don't like to be constrained. They like to be free, open, live by their own accord, and do what they want to do. And so you want to be conscious of that when you're meeting with somebody.
My belief is they're one of the primary ones to suffer from FOMO.
Yes. Yes.
Everybody know what FOMO is? Fear of missing out. They won't make plans so that when Saturday rolls around, they can take the best opportunity to do the most fun stuff.
So like My Saturday is my plans or no plans. Like I don't want to do anything, right? But an expressive wants to go out and do as much as they can and live up as much as they can. And they're just very spontaneous with it.
They're also, let them talk.
Yeah.
Let the expressive talk.
I'll tell you everything.
If you're an expressive, don't talk. Ask the other expressive questions. Hey, what do you think about? Oh, give them the podium and the microphone and let them go. And then while they're talking, hand them the pen and ask them to sign. But give them the stage and let them talk. Don't take that away from them. That's something that they love.
Yep.
Avoid boredom, complacency, failure, being hemmed in, all the good stuff. Let's switch it over.
All right.
So these 3 communication preferences, whether we know it or not, there's 3 primary ways that we will communicate. The words that we use will be based around these 3 things: being visual, being auditory, or being kinesthetic. So the visual, they're going to use all the seeing words. The auditory will be the hearing words, and kinesthetic is going to be that touchy feely.
Yep.
You do have the other 2, because really we're talking about the 5 senses. There's the olfactory, and the other one's not coming to me, but they're rarely used. But people will say, you know, it's so hot outside, you can just taste it. You ever heard something like that? Boy, that sounds so good, I could just, all the words will come out. Anyway, here we go. Let's talk about the visual communication first. And we're going to get a little bit closer because our things dropped up here. But what I want you to know is people's eyes will tell the story.
Yeah. So one of the easiest ways to identify who somebody is you have to ask them a question that's going to require them to think about it and access their subconscious part of their brain. So for example, John, can you look at me real quick? What was the name of your high school prom date? You know I'm trying to do it, so you can't just stare at me. You got to like respond normally.
Oh, there it was. He just did it.
He looked down.
Down and right.
Okay. So him looking down, that gives me an idea. Okay, he's probably kinesthetic. Okay. So that means I got to tweak my verbiage based on feel. So I'm visual. So when someone asks me a question, I got to think about it. I look up. Okay. So that means, okay, so what do you see on this, right? See, you got to show them, make it visual.
So what you've got right now, what you're seeing on the screen is visual. So sorry, guys, you can't see it, but I will demonstrate to you. A visual person will do one of 3 things. Defocus. Their eyes will do exactly what you did, John. They'll go. But it's not looking straight at him. It's looking straight past.
Mm-hmm.
You will see people do and they're not looking at anything. They could be looking at you, but in reality, they're looking just over the top of your head because they're defocused back there. Or they'll do this.
Mm-hmm.
Eyes will go up to the left or up to the right. They're accessing the visual part of the brain to remember what they saw. That's how they will recall things. So again, visual people will defocus. They'll look straight ahead. They'll even do this. I mean, it's just the defocus can be a lot of different things. Up to the left, up to the right. Their words, as you can see on here, and I'm going to get a little bit closer just so I can see what's on my monitor. Picture, see, watch, look, focus, view, appear, show, this perspective, clear, envision, bright. You can see all of these, even with the phrases that I'll see to that. It appears to me that, well, makes a scene. Well, that'll make a scene, right? Looks like, well, we just need to see eye to eye on this. All of those are the visual person speaking to you.
And if you've ever been to a Mike Ferry in-person event, he does it all the time. He'll stand up here and go,
Wait.
all right, watch, or hold this up. He'll go, watch. Okay, watch. He'll just say, you know, he's very subtle, but okay, watch. And then he'll go into it.
I always remember it. Now look,
Yep.
blah, 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 blah. Totally visual. But see, he's got it right here. Look. And then he speaks.
And you focus. Yep.
Well, how can I look at what you're saying? There's nothing there. And there's nothing, by the way, because it was no more than blank lines
Yeah.
for you to take notes in.
Yep.
So there was nothing even for you in a book to look at, but all the time. Now look,
Mhm.
now see this. I even remember him slapping that paper when he would do that. He was the best
He was
example to
very,
that.
very good. Yep.
Great speaker. All right. Auditory communication.
So that's level. So that's very quick. You got to pay attention because some people are just right to the side, either right or to the left. Okay. So when you ask them a question, they really got to think about, and they respond with, or, they're thinking about it. If they look level to the right or to the left, they're auditory. Okay.
By the way, I wasn't making fun of him. They're going to their ears.
Yes.
The eyes, auditory, goes to the ears, one side or the other.
Right? Because again, like people who are visual try to remember what they saw, auditory is trying to remember what they heard. Come on, Shelly. So they're trying to remember what they heard, right? So they're looking either right to the left to their ears, right? So word preferences for auditory, hear, note, told.
And the note, by the way, ding.
Mhm. Told, say, click, sounds, listen. That rings a bell. Sure, everyone's told you that at one point or another. Loud and clear, snap to it, tell, afterthought, describe in detail, call, word for word, express yourself in a manner of speaking, outspoken, to tell the truth, or unheard of. Those are all auditory word preferences. Okay, so again, level, looking level, right or left, that's auditory.
Look into the ears. In a class, by the way, we'd actually put you into now talk in a way that you're not used to. If you're highly visual, we'd have you no visual words. You'd have to use all auditory words.
Yeah, and that's way when you can identify not only who they are personality-wise, but how they auditorily communicate or visually or kinesthetically. They're sitting there thinking, wow, this guy gets me. Oh, we're a good connection. When all you're doing is speaking their language, that's all you're doing. Same words are coming out of your mouth, but you're just using it in their communication preference.
Last one is kinesthetic. And theirs is really simple. Alex actually brought it up already. It is no more than they'll look down to their right. That's where the access. So make sure you make that note. The eyes will go down and to their right. Now, you have to be careful when you start judging. You have, one question will not answer. Because when we asked John about who his first date was and where he met her at, well, look, more than likely, that's going to go down and to the right. On the other hand, you say, so when was your father born? That could be down and to the right because I had a great relationship with my father. On the other hand, that's just, geez, now I got to think, when was he born? And you're going to start accessing all of the other channels. So it's a few questions in and you'll be able to tell. But same thing if you're talking to someone on a telephone, just listen to their words.
Mm-hmm.
So kinesthetic, again, these are the touchy-feely folks. So feel, touch, throw. So action words is what I would give to you here. Action words. So throw, move, handle. Oh, that's solid. A feel, grab, hold on. Oh, you better get a hold of that. Boy, that'll slip right through your fingers. Hey, can you catch on to this? Now, here's an idea that you got to get a grasp of. Give me a hand. Touch base. Hey, just touch base with me. That way I'll know what's going on. Sharp, smooth, hard. support, all washed up. Get a load of this. Hey, do you get my drift? Well, I'll walk you through hand in hand on this. And guys, if you need them, I'll make sure that you get these because I know that you're not seeing them, but it is now 12:57. Anything you want to throw out? How about any questions that may be out there, gang? We haven't had a chance to pop the chat room, so okay, that's a message from my wife. I'll read that later, honey. I don't know. I don't want to slip up and do something silly. Alex smiles all the time now.
It's been taking a lot of practice. Who said that? Candace? Yeah.
Candace, yeah. I think laugh out loud. There it is. Be like a chameleon. Yeah, Robert is one of the things I did not mention earlier, but that's a huge key. A huge key.
Yeah.
Probably not enough of that. I
Yeah.
don't know. So anyway, yeah, I've referred to it as chameleon charisma. If you've been with me before, chameleon doesn't change its shape or what it is. It simply changes its color to the environment. So when we talk about be like a chameleon, great point. And thank you, Andre. I know you got the joke. Oh. And my wife has given me a hard
she's
time
been
with
hitting
direct
you, yeah.
message. Look at this. Wow. By the way, yeah, if anybody does want these, send me a direct email, darwin@darwinconley.com, Conley, and I will forward these slides directly to you so that you guys can have them.
Oh, that's a good one. With the yin and the yang couple, how do you know who the decision maker is?
Oh, that's a great one, John. Go first. I'll give my thoughts after.
Well, for me, it's kind of typically when I'll throw a question out just to see who's going to answer first. And that's typically giving me a good insight. Okay, so if someone's going to answer first, they could be the decision maker, they could be in charge, right? But I always watch in between because then I'll throw something in between them. Who grabs it first, right? And I'll show them something. Who's going to grab it and put it towards them? So that I'm a visual guy, so I'm trying to see and pay attention to who's who. But you got to ask a lot of questions to get a better idea of, okay, who's the decision maker? Sometimes you can be completely wrong. If I'm doing the analytical, he doesn't say a word, and the wife's talking to me all the time. She's grabbing everything and, answering all my questions. But come to find out, he's a decision maker because he didn't say anything. How am I supposed to know, right? So that's a really, you got to pay close attention to at the appointment. Who's grabbing, who's making the decision, who's speaking first, who's grabbing the paper, right? Who's asking the questions. They look at each other, right? Because a lot of times they look at each other. What do you think? Right? So I don't think there's really a set way to find out who it is. It's just a multitude of things you got to pay attention to.
And I would simply say I can think of a couple in my past that if you used all the things that everybody always told you, you would be wrong. And it was specifically to a male who would sit back and do more and hardly say a word. And then there was his wife who would chat up a storm, couldn't get a word in edgewise. I mean, total opposite, analytical, expressive. Her being the expressive, obviously, he being the analytical. And guides from old advisors would say she would have been the decision maker. Not even close. This was a Christian family. A Christian family, he is the head of the household. He did make the decisions, but you see, he didn't have to talk. She did all the talking, did all the asking. He could just sit back and gather the information. And at the right time, he makes a decision. So what I would say is that I'm not really focused on who is the decision maker because I could be wrong. What I know is there's two people that have to make a decision and one may take and talk the other into it.
If you're dealing with an analytical, the expressive is going to help you talk them into it, right? So I went on an appointment and the guy he was a tough analytical, like he was tough. And by the end of it, he's like, all right, why didn't you think about it? And the wife just looked, I didn't say anything. The wife looks at him and says, what do you need to think about? And she's like, you know exactly what it is we're going to do. This looks good. We like him. So let's do it. And he's just,
You're going to wake up in the
Yeah.
morning anyway and say yes.
yeah. And he's just sitting there like, okay, I didn't have to say a word. She did it for me. Okay. So again, just don't get involved in their decision-making process. If they're talking back and forth or thinking about it, let them talk it out more oftentimes than not. And expressive is going to help you help that analytical make a decision.
So guys, with that, we bring it to a wrap. And that is another, this one for the month of July,
Yeah.
Lunch and Learn. Hope you guys got something from it. Again, look for us to put this up on the HRC Learning channel on YouTube. You'll be able to review the whole thing and look forward for a class that we'll be able to put together. The more that we can get into it, that much more fun that this actually becomes, and you become that much better at being a great salesperson. So as always, you know how we always have to end things. Go talk to people. See y'all.
See you guys.